Hey, I'm Ashley. Welcome back to my channel. Like, comment, and subscribe. This video is going to be about breaking cycles. I feel like a lot of us are on a loop right now. And to actually break that loop, we have to even acknowledge the fact that we're on a cycle. A lot of us are practicing cycles that we've kind of been accustomed to, whether it's based on habit, whether it's based on exposure, and just what we're comfortable to. So I feel like this video was necessary to break that cycle. So I have 8 points. The first one is, are you on a loop? I feel like the best way to acknowledge if you're on a loop is, are you acknowledging a pattern in your life that you see yourself mimicking over and over, whether it's good or bad? I know for me, I've had some loops that I've been on that I'm like, why do I keep doing this? Or why do I keep talking to this person? Or why I keep acting this way? A lot of times it's kind of harder to acknowledge than we like to think, because we like to think that we're in control of our lives. But when you're on a loop, you're kind of less in control than you like to think. So I say that to say the biggest step is acknowledging the fact that you are on a loop. Where that comes from, what that means, but are you on a loop? A lot of us are. My second point is, what does that loop entail? Meaning, if you are on a loop, what does it look like? Is it you constantly going back to the same person? Is it you constantly going back into the same activity with this sad person? Is it you constantly going back into the same activity, period? I know for me in the past, it was just me repeating behaviors in certain relationships. I feel like, and I say this all the time to people, in certain relationships, in certain aspects, it's hard for you to create a new behavior just based on the history and consistent activity you've had with said person, said situation. It's hard for you to just break out of that because of the people, community, energy involved. It's just hard for you to break away from that. So that's easily a way for you to identify if you're on a loop with anyone, any situation, any said person. The third thing is, are there highs and lows? The highs and lows will let you know what's going on. The highs and lows will let you know why you're engaging in this said pattern. Highs actually are the reason that you usually consistently engage with a person, because it gives you those rushes of endorphins, dopamine, etc., serotonin, to even be involved in this situation. And those lows, if anybody knows, those lows feel low. And that's how you know if you're engaging in something that's on a cycle, because it's not a consistent rhythm. There's extremes, there's polar opposites that you find yourself engaged in, and it kind of lets you know what's going on here. And once you learn and understand, it's like, what's happening. You know what I mean? Excuse me. So 4, are you trying to fill a void? A lot of us are trying to fill a void. A lot of times we're just stuck on a loop, and the things that we engage in, the relationships that we engage in, the activities that we find ourselves stuck in, are us trying to fill a void. It's not even about what's actually happening. It's about us kind of coaxing a feeling and trying to band-aid a process and skip the process of feeling a difficult emotion. If you're finding yourself trying to navigate a difficult emotion, and you find yourself trying to fast forward, speed through, band-aid through, that's not what you need to do. The realistic thing is to actually allow yourself to feel and process, no matter how hard it is, because the reality is you can't skip feeling. Feeling and healing equal each other. There is no process that is without the other. You know what I'm saying? Like, it might feel good, it might be easier to skip those feelings, but no matter what, it comes back full circle, because you can't skip that part of the process. Every part of healing has intricate parts of the process. No matter how difficult, no matter how hard it is, no matter how strenuous you feel like it is, you have to get through that part. Otherwise, it's gonna come back like a hunting, honestly. So you have to allow yourself to feel, to heal, point blank, period. And closing the cycle. Closing the cycle is looking like actually acknowledging what's going on, acknowledging those habits, acknowledging what you're trying to avoid, and actually head on proactively approaching what those feelings and what those habits are. A lot of us have found a way to navigate things without actually addressing specifically. But the reality is, if no matter what you accomplish in life, no matter what tangible assets you accomplish or accolades, the reality is if you think you're skipping a process, it's always going to come back full circle. There is no way to skip any part of the process because there is no healing without feeling. There is no healing without acknowledging what's actually going on. So you can't skip it. It's inevitable. You have to deal with it. You have to process it. You have to write it down. You have to burn it. You have to give it to God. Like, those are big parts of the process that don't change. Point blank, period. They don't change. They're there and you have to deal with them. And create a new pattern. Now, that's difficult. Because creating a new pattern entails knowing a new cycle, or at least having an idea of a new cycle that doesn't reflect the old one that you were engaging in. Most of the cycles that we put ourselves into are based on what we already saw. It's based on what we were already exposed to. But it's even harder to create a cycle that we haven't seen. And most of the time, the cycle that we haven't seen is the one that's most healthiest for us. But the only way for us to even know what that is by creating it. And that's difficult. It's difficult to put yourself out there to even say, you know what, I saw this, but I'm going to do this. Because a lot of people are going to tell you, what? No, like, that's not smart. That's stupid. That's foolish. That's not like we know. That's not like we was raised on. But everything we were raised on isn't correct. And I'm not saying everything is wrong, but it's okay to see something and make an educated decision like, I saw that, I like this, but I'm going to take this from that. Realistically, we have to create new cycles. We have to. Even if it wasn't all the way right, it's not all the way wrong. And we have to take the risk of putting ourselves out there, putting our families out there, exposing our kids, future generations to things that are different. Because we know a lot of the things that we were exposed to weren't healthy for us. And we had to navigate new ways of expressing, exposing, and healing from that. So if we can make an educated decision based on what we were exposed to, I think that we can also make an educated decision to expose the generations and people furthermore to something that's better than that, to be honest. And establish goals associated with new patterns. And the reason I say that is because, okay, if we create new cycles, we have to create new goals associated with those cycles. We have to create goals that are associated with what we feel, with what we think, with what we want, based on healthy patterns. A lot of times the goals and expectations that we have are based on patterns that other people gave us. But if we create patterns based on the healthy decisions that we consciously navigated to and from, I think that makes a major difference. And I think that if we were just more intentional about the decisions and the actions that we were putting forward, it would be better for us and the generations to come. Point blank, period, comma, and semicolon. And the last point I have to make is having faith that every pattern that exists isn't bad. And we can create new patterns. So number 8 is just creating a healthy new pattern that we're confident in. And, just like Pastor Everett said, confidence, if you don't want to think about confidence, if confidence is something that you negate from yourself in a negative way with negative connotations, convinced. Are you convinced that God is showing up in your life? I know I am. I'm convinced if nothing that I do is right, God showed up in a more correct and right way than I ever could. And he had that ministry on my life in so much of a way that I could show up for other people. If I can understand it, if someone else can understand it, that speaks volumes to my ministry, and that speaks volumes to God's ministry in my life. And that speaks volumes to where I could go from here. Point blank, period. I hope that somebody got something from this. And I hope that everybody's having a great day, great night. And we're going to make more videos. This was a short, excerpt, but I have more. to give. I just hope that I gave somebody something with those excerpts. Y'all have a great night, and we'll have more videos to come.